There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm joined here with Matthew today. We are here live from the Microsoft Sydney office in North Ryde, and Matthew very kindly decided to come pay me a visit. And I want you to tell everyone who you are, what you do in your day job, and what kind of MVP you are.
Well, thanks very much, Anna. Really great to catch up. I've really enjoyed watching the videos so far on what are we saying? Sustainable adoption. That's the key message we want to get out. There's lots of cool stuff there, and it's got me thinking a lot. So really great to have this chance to talk to you. So I'm an MVP. I've been for a couple of years primarily using OneNote. I've been using OneNote for a long time.
Yep.
My background's in construction, so as a builder and a carpenter, I learnt to replace paper with OneNote very early on in my workflow. And these days, what I spend my day doing with a company called Tablet PC is we spend our time in front of end user groups. So we're very end user focused, and we talk to them about their personal digital journey, so how to transition and how to adopt. All the whole suite of products, but primarily is a few sweet spots we like to get to help build some basics around end user skills.
Okay, cool. So you showed me some pretty cool devices as well. That seemed to be a really good angle to get people to be more mobile. Is that really the main sort of driver for people?
Yeah, I mean, everything we talk about with end users is about learning to work in your final format on the spot. And the key kicker to that is that I don't care where that spot is. So if you're not working in your final format, you've got an opportunity to improve your processes. Now, there are some processes where you can't gather information to a final format. But what I could do is I could gather it somewhere where the information is gathered once, and then it's maybe turned from ink to text, or maybe it's used to go as a stepping stone to the next process. So it's no duplication of effort is what our goal is.
So what's the biggest deployment that you've done?
Deployment. We probably aren't so heavily involved in the actual numbers of devices, although what happens is where we train organisations, they get more devices. Specifically, they end up with more pen-enabled devices because we're very big on using digital pen. And we've been using it ourselves for a long time. But certainly, for example, I was talking to you about an education customer where we were able to take a small pilot of about 40 units, and that turned into a 6,000, nearly 7,000 unit deployment. And that's based upon the skills that the end users were receiving. And the business worked out that, hey, hang on, if we want the rest of our users to get these same benefits productively, we've got to give them devices with digital pens. I know that one of my colleagues, actually my brother Brett, he was involved in a university where it was a pitch on M365, or probably Office 365 at that time. And that was able to turn into a 10,000 unit deployment. Pen enabled again, instead of touch only. Premium, I do think device matters. There are people who need a specifically rugged device for the environment they work in. People need devices with pens in my world, and that's I want to see pen use everywhere.
So it must be quite a transition for someone who was solely using pen and paper to move to a device with a digital pen.
It's really cool. People don't naturally bridge the gap between physical pen and paper and digital pen and paper, but it's not a hard bridge or step to take. So typically, if we have a group of people into a room that have devices with pens, I can pretty much say that half of the audience will not bring their pens to the session, despite having been asked to bring their pens. Because it's one of the caveats we say, make sure you bring your pens to the session. And so we spend the first 5 minutes with people searching for pens. I carry some spares with me just in case. But once they've been introduced to the fact that the pen can work like a mouse on their device, and you can write with it on your screen, they pick it up very quickly. But it is interesting to see that they haven't naturally worked out or organically worked out that the pen is the same. They can use it the same way. And I've got some. I think this is consumeristic influence, and in my world, I think that consumeristic thinking takes away productivity. Very rarely delivers it. And so, the way that messages around technology are given to end users gets them into some false thinking, what I think is false thinking. And one of those key things is people think that they're not technology people because they don't find technology amazing or magical or intuitive. They go, you know what, I actually don't know what to do with this. And so they're put off by technology. And those people we love training the most because they're actually ready to go. And we just make it clear to them that you know what, there's no such thing as a not technology person. There's just people that don't yet have the training and haven't had time to practice the skills.
Yeah.
And if you have the skills to hold down your job, you have the skills to use the device productively, provided you get the knowledge and the training.
Okay. So have you ever found this, I mean, you've probably done thousands of training sessions. Are you ever in a scenario where people in the room feel like IT forced me to use this new tool, use this new device? I don't really, I'm resisting basically. And what do you do in that situation?
Well, the vast majority of our customer experience is end user driven, right? So, but even that being the case, so we're not really seeing IT force them as much, but we do get people that don't want to change, right?
Yeah.
So change is hard, and a lot of people don't like hard things.
Yes.
And fair enough too.
Yep.
But yeah, so we do get people that come into sessions and they rock back on their chair and they're like, what can you possibly teach me? Or, what could I possibly do?
Yeah.
Probably the most difficult people we have to engage in that space is the IT people.
Okay, interesting.
Because they're very heavily keyboard-based people, very heavily keyboard-based people, and their job is IT.
Yeah.
So what could a carpenter come and teach me about technology? But the education custom we did, we've trained their IT department on the same things we train their end users, and the comments I've got back from that IT department around the stuff they'd never thought of, the scenarios we talk them through, because it is, we've used the term training, but really it's storytelling and presenting that we do, and discussion as well. Our users are heavily involved in the discussions that we have with them. And what we love hearing back is the actual benefits. People go, I remember one customer in Queensland, government customer, we gave them some training on how to get rid of the keyboard and use the pen in certain scenarios. And she came back for a follow-up session and she said to me, you know what, I went home thinking, that was sort of all right. And I get it, but I'm going to keep using my keyboard. And then she hopped on the train to come to work the next morning, and the train ride wasn't particularly smooth and the keyboard was bumping around in her lap. And so she followed the keyboard behind a device and got a pen out and went, oh my goodness, this works. And so she came to tell me that. She specifically came to go, I wanted to tell you that when I tried it, it worked and I'm never going back. So those sort of things, So we get resistance. The other thing that happens is because people learn differently and adopt at different rates, we like to work with groups of people of a particular size. And you'll get people who will fly through everything and you'll get people that will get none of it. But what happens is that sort of group mentality and part of the training we go through in the group or the discussions we have with them is around talking about how, as groups of people, we're going to get things done. Not just what needs to be done by when, but how. And the more how conversations we have, those people that are maybe lagging behind, they go, well, if it worked for you, I might as well try it. And since we're keeping on talking about the how, well, maybe it's not so bad for me to have a go at this. It's very similar to what Sue Hanley was saying in our earlier videos about, you have to collaborate with a group of people to understand what their problems are, what their pain points are, and also what goals they want to achieve. So it sounds like it's really important to have a collaborative process when it comes to driving user adoption. And I love that collaboration contract. And I love also talking to customers about how they communicate with each other. And it's such we take it for granted that we can communicate effectively. But really, when you boil down the problems that people face generally at work, they're mostly communication based. So even having a conversation about how I'm going to communicate with people is an important thing that every office group that I've ever met has never done. They've never talked about when will I email you, when will I text you, when will I instant message you. They've never talked about this stuff. Will we use emojis at work or not?
So what conversations do they talk about in terms of collaboration problems that they have?
I don't think they're talking about it at all. I think that the solution typically given to them by IT is that here's a new tool, right? And if I can't use my existing tools, such as communication effectively, how is a new tool going to fix that? The word disruption is overused these days, so we're going to call it an interruption. People need to be interrupted in what their process is, and they need to be stopped and just put into a comfortable surrounding, and let's just have a conversation about what we do and what could make it better. If we could get on the same page about how we treat email, what would that do for us? If we could get on the same page about how I can reach you urgently, as a group, as a team, what would that do for us? So I've heard very similar stories where people are telling us their end users are the ones who are asking for change because they want to see improvements in collaboration and things like that. And so they go to IT. And IT is probably the biggest source of resistance.
So when do you come into that conversation? Is the end user coming to you, or the IT's coming to you? How does that all work?
It depends upon our introduction method with the customer, but we're probably going, if the customers come to us asking for productivity or asking for help, then we go with them to the IT department.
Yeah.
This is one of the interesting things that we see that needs to change in the workplace, particularly in enterprise customers. It's never been the remit or the KPI of IT to deliver productivity.
Okay.
Yeah. They're given a budget, they've given a device rollout schedule. We're going to replace our laptops every 3 or 4 years, and we're going to make sure we get the best bang for buck, as it were, around our replacement cycle.
Yeah.
Where does the productivity piece come into it? Where is it IT's mandate to go and look at the workflow and make a contribution to that workflow? Yeah. So when we get in discussions with IT, our message to them is this is an opportunity for you to reposition yourself in this business. You're no longer the ticket punching, break, fix guys. You can actually become the thought leading, collaboration driving partner of the end users.
And are they excited about that?
I mean, some people don't get it, but those that do get it, they go, what an opportunity. Let's get on board with this, and let's make sure that we run a pilot, make sure it's effective, and then start to see how we can lead this change from an IT perspective.
Yeah. Are you seeing change there? Meaning, are you seeing that IT is seeing that as their responsibility more and more?
We certainly see the change when we're engaged with the customer. And I'm sure that all the change management businesses that you've spoken to are similar, that once they're engaged with the customer, they see the change. But we are not seeing that change happen on its own. It's being led and it's being discussed. And it's coming through Microsoft account reps, it's coming through specialists in the Microsoft team, but it's coming through partners that are heavily tasked with process improvement. Because the workers, I've never met a worker, I don't think, I've never met a worker who doesn't want to improve their process, or doesn't want to get a little bit more done, or doesn't want to become more productive. And the IT departments also would be happy for that to happen, provided it doesn't hurt them. In most IT departments are being asked to do more with less. How do we make that happen? And it's a conversation about how.
It's a really interesting time. I think, it's coming from, it seems like it's coming from the end users. There's a change happening from an IT point of view as well. Have you come across scenarios where it's actually because someone who was an end user was actually using a completely different technology? So this whole concept of shadow IT that often gets talked about.
I mean, shadow IT, we see this a lot in executive land, right? So, the executive's decided that he wants this to happen or she wants this to happen and makes their EA make it happen. And oftentimes you've got this IT poor person who's assigned to that executive who has to make this rogue stuff work. And if they can't make it work, it doesn't matter. The IT guy just does it. The executive just does it. But shadow IT, a great example of that. We were talking before about where people store their work, and there's a problem, particularly in government, I see with records management systems and the way they're used. People don't like checking things in and out, right? Which obviously is solved if they use SharePoint and Teams, right? But they're still stuck using records management systems, and so they're checking work out, printing it to paper, or which I don't know how that makes it secure, but they're also saving it on their desktops. In most of the examples I've seen, there's 20 or 30 work in progress files on individuals' laptop screens saved as work in progress. It hasn't made it back to the records management system. They've been working in these documents for hours, and typically their desktops are not backed up. So the whole work in progress in this department might be stored somewhere that is waiting to be destroyed. And that's a scary thought. A lot of them have deployed OneDrive for Business, but they don't understand why. They haven't had a conversation about where I should store stuff. Some of your other interviews have talked about. It's important. It's important to have a conversation about how we're going to work.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that it almost feels like a conversation around user adoption, getting people to be more collaborative, is actually driving organizations to become more secure in the process.
Definitely. There's a lot of misnomers around there about what secure actually is. So that's another conversation that needs to be had. But the number of organizations who we've met that say that no, we're completely secure and everyone runs this process, I like to joke with them and say, give me 3 of your users and let's go and test it.
Yeah.
And normally the first one we go to, and they've got a desktop full of unsaved or unbacked up information on the desktop stored there, and you go, well, hang on.
Yeah.
And is this the norm, or is this, as you said, you said no one's doing this? Well, here's the first example of someone who is doing it.
Yeah.
Workers want to get stuff done, and they will find a way to get it done.
Yes. Yeah. Whether it's secure or insecure.
Exactly.
Yeah. And better that it's all in one environment and can be managed and monitored and that kind of thing.
But we do also see, as you mentioned, that what happens is once we get a small group of people who become personally productive first and then productive as a group, that then grows through organisations. And quite rapidly. Yeah.
Well, this has been a really great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Matthew.
Thanks for the chance.
Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with the community?
I suppose the 2 things I see unique about office workers, I mentioned those to you. So information workers in offices, 2 unique things that we observe. The first thing is that office workers in general are the only people today allowed to touch tools without certification of competency.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is that office workers or information workers don't have productivity dictated to them. And I think, coming from a construction background, that those 2 gaps have us where we are today with people who are not only unproductive, but also have this huge work impact on their mental health.
Yes, absolutely. I've tweeted about that often, many times. I get so many notifications on multiple platforms. It's really hard for me to cope.
So the importance of having the conversations, I suppose, is my final message. And thanks for that chance.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to continue the conversation with us, we are on Twitter. Where can people? Are you on Twitter?
Yeah. It's at Matt Gilbertson. You'll find me there.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll make sure there's a link in Twitter. And thanks again for the chat.
Thank you.